against BLG. Those guys are monsters. But against W, I think there were some good looks, and if we can tweak this, if we can somehow open up Ning to really take control of this map, there are some options here for Ultra Prime.
Yeah, well, we shall wait no longer. We are jumping straight into picks and bans. Already seeing those enchanters taken off the board. The Lulu, the Milio, the Nico, the Zeri. The draft hasn't changed a lot, Ulk. I'm going to be real with you right now. Nothing's really changed right now for the moment. And it's going to be when the picks and kind of, obviously the itemization as well, once we get into the game, that's going to be probably a little bit more important.
I was really interested in this because we looked at the side select for these two teams, and Ultra Prime have only found wins on red side. And Thunder Talk, similar kind of bit of information for them. They're predominantly playing on blue side. Now, most of that is them either picking for Beishuan or going for UCal in this mid lane, who has been pretty stand out for this team. He is the sole reason why at 15 minutes they have a pretty decent gold lead. He is never missing farm, and while he isn't able to find solo kills, he is forcing the enemy opponent mid laner to take multiple recalls back and be out of lane.
Well, it looks like the Vi might be the first pickup here. You banned the Wukong, and the Annie was banned away as well. So TT kind of thinking about that one here. And it's interesting as well because the Vi has just become such a staple in the meta. Point and click CC, very, very easy to get on top of a priority target. However, it does mean that you might be able to, on the side of Ultra Prime, go for something like maybe a Xayah Rakan. It's a little bit off-center. Definitely people prefer the Aphelios as a first pick option, maybe even going towards the Cassante as well. But I kind of feel like when the Vi comes in, the Xayah feels like the much safer opportunity because you can just ult when they ult, and then, you know, you kind of get yourself away from it.
And it prevents, you know, those different options that we were talking about. If you are going to be looking to move down, which is what we tend to see from Thunder Talk, it's UCal pushing out mid lane, moving on over to other sides of the lanes. It would give you the option to try to avoid the Vi ultimate like you were talking about if they maybe went for something like an Ahri similar there. But for Ultra Prime, they want to try and pick up pretty stock standard AD carries, the Aphelios. Big thing here for me is this Gragas for Forge. It has been his most picked champion in this split, and it is such a perfect pick for his identity on this team, where he is looking to stay safe in mid, look to try to roam, set up Ning in the early game, and then look to roam, get Sword Art and Doggo online as soon as possible.
We want to go for the Azir coming in, though, straight away for TT, looking like UCal. I mean, like, straight away, TT are saying, late game, we want team fights. We want to be able to kind of go for something that's a little bit more safe and standard. We haven't seen the Azir in a while. It is a UCal special, something he is very, very comfortable on, and something he has performed on exceptionally in the past. And honestly, I don't mind this at all. I feel like for TT, this is such a great call to kind of say, look, we are struggling. We are coming into this very much on the kind of downturn. We need something that will bring our players and our confidence back up. Let's just play comfort.
And these are going to be things that are be strong and present in lane, which is what we want to see from Thunder Talk. The best looks we've gotten from them is when 1xN is having a great game, when specifically, again, Hoya and Beishuan, or sorry, UCal and Beishuan are having a great game for themselves, when UCal is able to exert himself on the enemy mid laner, and giving Beishuan the Vi is definitely something that we want to see. But on the other side, we're talking about some different picks. We've been seeing the Nocturne start to rise a little bit in priority, start to pick up a few different champions, a few different players starting to grab this or gravitate towards it. This is getting a little dangerous, I think, for Thunder Talk. If you are going to have this kind of front line, I need to see some supports that are going to be able to protect these champions, because Nocturne, Gragas, we're seeing a pretty good dive comp start to get set up here.
Pretty good dive, and already Ultra Prime saying, we got a dive comp, we need to make sure you don't have things that can stop it. Tam Kench, Braum, things that can protect the Jinx and the Azir, taken off the board. I really like this draft, you know, kind of second round of bans coming out from Ultra Prime as well, as you mentioned. Just making sure they have the options available to them. TT maybe going to throw another ban into that mid lane. No, going to throw into the Rakan. I like this as well. I think that Rakan just kind of gives you, again, that kind of extra dive buddy in that support role. Can still go with the Nautilus or something else of similar vein if they so choose, maybe even a Blitzcrank as well, but we'll see where they want to try and show this one. And again, the Gragas is still technically a flex. That Gragas can go up to the top side, can go mid. We have seen Forge play it a couple of times, so curious to see where they're able to kind of go there, or where they want it to go once they know what TT's picking up. And interesting enough, we've gotten all the way into the second phase of picks and bans, and we have not seen ourselves a Cassante. Cassante has not been seen so far.
That was exactly what I was going to head towards. Where is Cassante? This man has been the man, the myth, the legend here in the LPL, and it has been the mainstay for so many different top laners here, especially for Hoya and Harry. Both of these guys have really reached for this champion, and when I was talking about this matchup, I wanted to see if they were going to try to play some carries up here, because I think the best look we've seen from Thunder Talk for Hoya is when he's able to play these things like the Gwen. The Kennen had a little bit of mixed success, but I think still got the job done. And for Ultra Prime, Harry last week was put on tanks, had a little bit of a less of a carry duty, and I think Ultra Prime didn't have the best week too. When we saw him do really well, it was on that Gwen, it was on that Cassante where he had the option to go for solo kills, play aggressive into the enemy laner.
Sorry,
What?
Put you up there. Yeah, Galio going to be support there for Yao Yao, something we haven't seen in a very, very long time. Main reason was it was a mainstay until you couldn't flash while charging your taunt. Kind of killed him in support, not going to lie. Kind of killed him all those patches ago. Still, though, very, very curious to see them kind of go for this very kind of hard, you know, kind of, again, just hard protection here. This is very clearly what TT are setting up. They've got someone to engage with the front to back of the Vi and the Cassante. The Galio can still engage, but they have choices now. Do they want to go all in with the dive, or excuse me, in the engagement on their tanks, or do they want to use that ultimate defensively? And the final pick going to be coming in here for Forge is going to have the Akali. So again, more dive, more kill pressure onto this Jinx and Azir. Two diametrically opposed kind of, you know, setups here. One trying to counter the other. Ultra Prime very much looking to dive in, kill all those carries. TT though, if they can survive, they can take that first initial dive. They are sitting pretty because they will have the range advantage for days.
Well, now for Thunder Talk, if they're able to set up on a objective, if they're able to get there first, either onto the Rift Herald or onto the Dragon, we could see them be very difficult to crack. Obviously, we've been talking up Ultra Prime and their ability to dive, but their first punch has to hit hard. Otherwise, the follow-up, if they're not able to find those kills, get those executions, Ning is going to be in no man's land versus Yukal and Beishwan. You're going to have an Akali who's kind of like spinning her little kunai, trying to get around everywhere. Going to be a tough ask. I think they need to really kind of keep the pace of the game very fast if you're Ultra Prime.
Yeah, I feel like Ultra Prime are definitely going to be playing a little bit more fast and loose. And remember, we are on 13-11. We are on the new patch where, after a while, you can start to share the buffs. That's where I feel like something like a Nocturne can definitely shine. Having access to that red buff alongside your AD carry, which normally you just wouldn't get past, you know, that 15, honestly, 20-minute mark. Going to be very curious to see if that does have a lasting impact in this game. But we are going to wait and see how both these teams fare up. Both desperate for a win, both looking to try and get their season back on track as we sprint the marathon that is the LPL. We are jumping onto the Rift for game number 1 of this best of 3. It is day 1 of week 3. We're going to see how it all goes. Welcome to the Gios.
Wow. That's really great to hear. That's insane. You guys get to listen to this every week?
I wish it was there, to be honest. It's like one of the things I'm like, I'm glad we have it, but I definitely wish we were there for it. It's one of the small problems of doing an online broadcast. I'm sure you're well aware of the benefits and the cons, I suppose, of an online broadcast.
Sure. Look, when we're watching, when I'm, you know, as a viewer, when I'm watching and I get to see the arenas and I get to see specifically the chairs for the viewers, those things are lush, man. Like,
yeah, they look comfy.
I was looking at them and I was like, they're not just the regular fold-out chairs. They've got proper like armrests and stuff. I was like, okay.
Yeah, so it's incredible as well that we have, like, I think it's 5 stadiums now. JDG reopened their one up in Beijing recently. I think it's like 1,500 capacity or something like that. Something ridiculous. Like, it's actually huge considering, you know, and they get that regularly, you know. It's a regular L week for them. But
wow.
Good hook there coming out from Sword Art just to start off things. But look, this is kind of the way things go at level 1. The Nautilus feels very emboldened to take those kind of trades. Yeah, once Yao Yao starts to get a few levels under his belt, I'm sure they're going to feel a lot more comfortable with how this lane should be able to go, with how Sword Art should be looking for trades. But one thing that we'll have to take a look at is he's just landing more and more damage onto Yao Yao that could end up being an early trade. Both junglers are starting to path down into the bottom side.
ThunderTalk have already invested a little bit of vision into the Ultra Prime jungle, but for Ning, one of the things that I love about this guy is he knows what the enemy jungler wants to do at all times. He is always willing to help out his lanes. He knows exactly what the enemy jungler wants to do and will play perfectly around it. While he will sack some camps, I think Ning has been a perfect... I've called him the River King. He has been sitting there waiting to go for ganks, covering for his lanes, and that's exactly what you need when you have this kind of setup.
Oh, Yao Yao. Don't know if you want to do that just to pull forward. He may have the flash here. He will flash forward, though, but you've got the Calibrum, and this is the aggression you were talking about, Ulk. You wanted to see this Ultra Prime team getting themselves advantages in the early game, and they've done just that.
This is one of the few differences that we ended up seeing. Sword Art!
Oh my god, Sword Art feeling at home on these engaged kind of champions. Won't gain much else than a little bit of trade back damage, but look at the wave position right now. It's so difficult for 1xN to really push up and get this wave into a kind of manageable state.
One of the huge differences between 1xN and Huanfeng is, hey, they do share a pretty similar damage percentage for their team, but Huanfeng's laning phase is huge. It is so much better, and unfortunately for 1xN, yes, he is a fresh face to the LPL. He is doing a lot more. He's had some cool moments, but it's that laning phase that's really been a struggle for not just him, but a lot of our other rookies who are joining us this split.
The laning phase definitely feels like it's one of those things where it's so important. We'll have a quick look at the replay here, and again, this is just Yao Yao kind of not respecting it, thinking he had more protection than he actually did.
Magnetic hooks at this point, and one of the kind of important things when we're looking at this bottom lane and this support matchup is Yao Yao by himself is not going to have a lot of resistances until that Aftershock is proc, but all the damage had already been done. And for Sword Art, those hooks are magnetic at this point. He's just landing them. They have lower cooldown when they land, so it is just constant, just immediately. And I think this is really interesting. It has been a long time since we've been seeing Galio's support.
Yeah, 449 days. It was AL versus Team WE in 2022, so been about a little over a year since we had the Galio support. I've had Galio mid quite a few times. Of course, we do have Yagao in the league as one of his absolute favorite champions to pick. But I mean, again, this is kind of what what we're waiting to see. And again, I like seeing this from TT. You've gone for more comfort. However, when you deviate from the meta, you do end up having those moments or two of kind of going like, well, how good is it really? Are you just picking for comfort? Is it going to be enough for you to kind of outlast your opponent who has picked a little bit more kind of bog standard, if that makes sense?
Ashin, I was promised action here for the LPL in Week 3, Day 1. I am getting full clear jungles for Vi and Nocturne. Nocturne's a little more expected for them.
Yeah,
but
I was going to say, Nocturne owes you nothing.
Yeah, Nocturne's like, hey man, I'm hitting 6. Don't worry about me for that right now. Beijing not really going for a ton of invades, which is something we do tend to see from him when he's on stuff like the Wukong. He will get pretty freaky with where he's going to take his champion and kind of get across the map. Both mid laners trying to get a recall in, Forge actually teleporting back in now. This is a timer for Ultra Prime to actually go for the dragon. Their bot lane has already come back and has a pretty massive item advantage between the two. So I think this is their time, but you already see Beishwan trying to look for something, knows that the enemy mid just TP'd in. It's a good time for a punish.
Potentially go for something there, but they do have vision of this dragon being taken. Beishwan could potentially go for a steal, but very, very risky knowing that his bot lane has zero pressure and he would not have any support. So good usage of the pressure from bot side from Ultra Prime. They get themselves the first dragon of the game, and we're going to have to wait and see how everything kind of fans out. Level 6 should be coming in very, very soon. Hoya, though, I like this, kind of saying, look, I'm a Cassante, your jungler just got spotted bot, I can proxy fire, I'm never going to lose anything off of that trade. So good movements here for both teams for the moment, but again, great to see that Ultra Prime aren't afraid to kind of go for something, a little bit more kind of, hot tempoed, I suppose, looking to try and see if they can catch TT off guard with these very quick rotations.
Yeah, I think when people look at like early game aggression, they're like, well, if they're not slamming at level 1, what are you doing? Like when we see the Draven, they're like, we need to be aggressive every single wave. We need to be looking for trades. You do have a bit of a timer. You do have to say like, hey, we can hit level 6 and then we can try to look for a pretty explosive mid-game spike where we're trying to get as many items, try to get as many gold around these objectives as sort of trying to find 1xN. Ning does have the ultimate, so they're going to prep this wave and look to dive here, and Beijing is nowhere nearby.
Thought about it for sure, but Ning recognizes that, look, not the greatest of times right now, especially with that Glacial Augment on cooldown here for Sword Art. So I like the idea, I like the thought about it from Ultra Prime, but not really feeling super confident to go for it right now. Ning does pick up his Iron Spike Whip, so he's going to have a little bit of an extra clear as Day1 goes towards that very standard Black Cleaver start here for the Vi. Coming up to 7 minutes now into the game. It's only that kill, really, that's the kind of difference between these two teams. After that little bit of action, we've kind of calmed down a little bit, but level 6s, as you mentioned, for junglers, now being hit. And I look towards that mid lane, especially with a point-and-click CC available for Day1, he could be able to get on top of this Akali.
Ooh, Forge, half HP, and is leaning towards this side of the jungle. Doesn't know the Beishuan's here. Yukao misses out on the Emperor's Divide. That was a pretty big play, because if they grab that, they have immediate priority to start moving over and grabbing vision for this Rift Herald that's going to spawn soon. You already saw from the bottom lane, they started pushing in. They wanted to get that wave in. It means that Ultra Prime, their bot lane, is going to be able to move first out of the map and start to apply pressure to this top side.
I mean, Forge's most played champion of its entire professional career is this Akali, and then you can see the veterancy coming out there a little bit there, not phased whatsoever. He's got the timing down to a fine art, shall we say, as Ning kind of comes in and tries to clear up a little bit more of his vision. Sword Art is level 6 now, no 6 for Yao Yao, so Ultra Prime already kind of moving up towards this top side, looking to make this move onto the Rift Herald, and also kind of maybe get some plates here and pressure onto Hoya. So this is the thing, I noticed it a little bit earlier, Ultra Prime seem far more comfortable going for these, rotations, keeping the tempo in their favor. It's TT who have to react to Ultra Prime's actual, kind of proactive play.
Yeah, TT, in terms of their stats, they are not a very early aggressive team. They're saying, hey, look, we're going to try and get as much gold. Yukao is going to try to exert his pressure onto mid lane. And then we'll kind of see what we could do with our team fighting AD carries. Let's see if we can try to hands diff, try to wallet check with our mid lane, maybe do something a little bit special. We look at Ultra Prime, statistically speaking, for objectives, they're very good. They have the 6th highest dragon, they're getting a ton of them, they have massive Drake control for them, and so when we're talking about objectives, it is usually, hey, we're moving our bot lane over. It is Ning who is very usually trying to get early dragons to make sure that they have that stacking advantage early on.
We shall wait and see. Of course, Forge just going to have to accept that as an Akali into an Azir and laning phase, very difficult to do. This is almost level 9 though, so should be able to spam his 5-point strike very, very soon. But he does lose the range advantage. That's not why you really pick this champion into the Azir. You're looking to try and just go into towards those team fights rather a little bit later on. So going about 10 or so CS down, not really the biggest issue in the world, if I'm being totally honest. As Sword Art finds himself just kind of roaming around, and this is what I love about Sword Art. Sword Art's one of those, kind of supports we have in the league where as soon as he hits level 6, he's just like, all right, I'll see you later, doggo. I gotta go check out some of these lanes, see how everybody's doing. And that's just what he does. And again, most people would say, oh, support should do that, but Sword Art just very rarely finds himself actually beside Doggo in a lot of these situations. He goes down to kind of check out him, puts his hand on his shoulder and goes, I'm here, never mind, I'm gone off again. So curious to see if he will do the same thing in this game as he looks to try and make pressure around this map.
He has his few conjugal visits. He's getting the stamps in his passport. He's like, Doggo, you good? All right, cool. I'm going to go look for a couple of roams. Here comes that potential dive that we've been setting up. They have the Rift Herald. Here comes the ult.
Yeah, they go for the ult. Yao Yao does not get his off in time, and they will be able to jump onto him as well. Perfect tanking from Sword Art means that Doggo and Ning can get themselves 2 kills underneath. Oh, no! Doesn't quite hit the Q, and Ning means he's able to flash away. They've got the Gravitum and a hook. Can they really take him out? They're just dodging him out so much. Tick! Tick! Boom! Sword Art picks up a kill. A perfectly clean dive from Ultra Prime.
Oh, wait a minute. This is Jigsaw able to get a little bit more.
Hey! Could have finished through it.
That would have been a heartbreaker for them. They would have been able to grab all those kills. Maybe, hey, you could get a little bit more, but now Ultra Prime in a very strong lead. 3,000 gold for them. And you see Doggo right now. He is the man of the hour for this team. He is always the one that is able to step up and win. It's usually just around team fighting. Hey, can this team protect him? And this was just, like you said, a perfectly played dive. Every single bit of CC, every spell felt intentional. And this turret juggle was beautiful, a masterclass even, as Beishuan, honestly, my heart goes out to him, because this was such a close kill for this Vi.
And you can see he lands that Q, he's able to follow up, it doesn't matter about anything else after that, and the fact that Ning and Sword Art still go out with probably single-digit HP is just insane.
They
Ultra
know.
Prime's
They know how
coaches,
cheeky
they
that
know.
was.
They know what's going on. They're not going to pretend that they don't. But, I mean, look at the way that kind of changes the dynamic of bot lane, or even this map now. Stridebreaker finished up for Ning. That gives him more kind of dive pressure. You've got the Dragon now coming up. That's going to be the second one of the game here for Ultra Prime. This is kind of a little bit of breakneck speed coming out here from Ultra Prime. And TT, they're struggling to keep up.
And there's just more and more gold going into the relevant carries. Ning, that early driver for action on this team. Where Thunder Talk, obviously we always, when we talk about this team, it's always around UCal, but this time around having a bit of a silent game. Yes, he is a head and farm. That is his most trademark thing that we've seen this split is just, I'm going to have a CS advantage almost every single game. I'm not going to miss a creep, but it's what you do with that that is the most important. And while Forge is down, he's saying, okay, cool, I press tab, I'm way far ahead. We've got the Dragon stacking for ourselves, so we're putting yourselves on a clock against Thunder Talk. And you still have not picked up an objective. You're not doing much damage to turrets either. These turrets are relatively healthy across the board.
Yeah, a couple of plates top, one or two mid. Maybe it's definitely not the greatest situations. And now you look at the coal being finished up, the full tower and plate gold going over to Doggo, as you mentioned as well. So he is exceptionally fed right now. He is just sitting so good in his own kind of setup. And this is the thing coming into this one here is that the Aphelios has been the priority for so many teams. And we can see why when you're able to spray, rush that Storm Razors, get yourself towards that Gale Force before the enemy AD carry even really has a chance to kind of fight you. That's the kind of big difference here. Beishuan looking to see if he can catch out Forge here, who should be able to get away from this one here, even with the ultimates coming down on top of him. He will get CC'd out, but
landed.
Now he flashes away, does get knocked back. Every single ultimate under the sun has been used, and Forge is still walking away from this.
Way.
They haven't killed him off just yet. He's got the energy, but does he have the cooldowns? Forge still moving forward, does get hit by the Q, and finally gets cleaned up, but you have to use 3 members of your team on bot side just to get 1 kill. That meant Doggo had free reign to push in even more of those turret plates in mid lane.
And Ning steals every single camp away from Beishuan. So what is he supposed to do? It's going to be damage onto the bottom tier turret, but getting rid of this mid, Ning goes in.
Yeah, then goes in, but unfortunately for him, he gets caught by the traps, and that puts him underneath the tower, which does get taken out here at the end by Ultra Prime. We will see Beishuan going forward on top of Sword Art, who does get a nice ultimate down. They're actually 2v4ing this right now.
Wait a minute.
It's insane. This Aphelios was left unchecked and unprompted to go for all this kind of damage. TT felt like they had an opportunity, but they weren't able to make anything out of it.
All the eyes were on Sword Art, but Doggo, with this Infernum, he's doing all the splash damage. Where is the focus coming out from Thunder Talk? Unable to find an AD carry, and hey, that's good shutdown gold going over to Thunder Talk, but you just lost your mid-tier one. That's going to destabilize this map even further for them as Ultra Prime continue to push the pace of this game. Thunder Talk have to be feeling uncomfortable. I know we've been talking a lot about the Aphelios in this game as we get to take the replay here. 1xN able to live. You get to see some of the strength of this composition and able to use that flash there to survive. Also grabs the teleport out of UCal, so no summoners there for our mid laner.
Yeah, no summoners available. And again, just really smart of Sword Art to recognize, hey, look, 1xN is so low here. He can't walk up and kill me, and UCal's too afraid as well. So really smart play coming out from the Ultra Prime support. And again, getting mid lane tower, getting more kills. You're now got a Gale Force, a Storm Razor on your Aphelios in 15 minutes. You are going to have another Dragon in a minute 30. This is just little things that are kind of going in favor of Ultra Prime, and it's all down to the proactiveness in this game.
Yeah. Now they've got the second Rift Herald, they can look to try and take the last tier 1 here, maybe look to try to focus out on these turrets. Harry in a bit of a soft spot here. Should be going down unless...
I was going to say, he's pretty tanky, and with all of his abilities to kind of move him away, he should be just fine. Honestly, it's just Beishuan kind of putting in some work here. We actually say that. He's got the Black Cleaver, he's putting in some decent move, a flash in, and they're going to try and TP on top of this one as well. It's a minute till Dragon. You've lost your TP here from Hoya. This is scrappy as hell right now. Both teams try to just kind of get themselves advantages, and it's honestly, it's TT kind of trying to find these opportunistic picks because they know, I think, in a straight 5v5, they lose.
Right now, they are in a losing position if they're going to try and take a 5-on-5, just straight up head-to-head, like front-to-back team fights. Thunder Talk, however, I do want to give them some grace, right? Like, this is a team where for UCal, we've been talking about his advantage, but when we've seen this Jinx Aphelios matchup, we have not quite seen, I think, a lot of the AD carries here in the LPL really take advantage of that early laning phase that a lot of people love to talk about for Aphelios. And Jinx, all it takes is one reset. It takes one pop-off moment, and we've got a certified Jinx moment coming on through. 1XN gets his pop-off. They have to be very careful. There are not a lot of summoner spells here for the side of ThunderTalk, so I want to see if they're going to try to either move into this bottom side river or really start to focus on getting more and more of these turrets, or getting closer to chipping away at these structures.
Yeah, no flash on your big carries, as you mentioned, and no TPs either on your solo laners means that you have to just be here, and you have to fight this. I feel like you can't really let this one go to the wayside. That would be Infernal Soul point for the side of Ultra Prime. As TT now move forward, they've got a little bit of extra vision available to them, but it'll be difficult for Reedy as Forge looks to try and make sure he can be on that backside. Level 12 now on the Akali with that Rocket Belt makes him such a massive threat. 1XN was pushing out that wave in mid lane to try and get priority. Dustbringer does come down to try and poke everybody away. The Dragon can take him very, very low. They're going to jump in on top of UCal. They're going to try and see if they can go for the fight here. The paranoia is good. They've jumped straight in on the Aphelios, but Doggo's got himself a stopwatch, which is perfectly timed. He flashes. He's trying to keep himself alive. He just about does go down. Finally, the Dragon gets finished off, but now TT are 100% on the retreat because they know they cannot take this fight. They will lose so many more. 3 for the favor of 1 in favor of Ultra Prime, and they get themselves the soul point.
And Sheen, they still have the Rift Herald. No, it's getting worse and worse. Ultra Prime are just stamping their name all over this first game for them. I mean, no one is able to really threaten Doggo, and once they got on top of him, like you said, that stopwatch putting in extra time, overtime for him to buy so much of the fight. As we take a look at this replay, Sword Art going for that early hook, finding UCal. He is getting the MVP vote for this game, I swear. There's no way people are not going to be grabbing it for him. And UCal's just not able to do anything in this fight, not able to put down that damage and be a big Azir threat that we tend to see.
Yeah, and the fact that Doggo kind of does a little bit of a UCal cosplay right there and keeps himself alive for so long. The fact that UCal doesn't die, to be perfectly honest, is an achievement on its own. I thought it was a 4-for-1, but it was actually him getting out right on the backside of this one here. And now it's a 4,000 gold lead. 3 Dragons to 1. Infernal Soul is nothing to be sneezed at in these games. And I gotta say, like, you're kind of looking at, thinking of a Jinx, super late game alongside the Azir. You're just not being allowed to get to that point. Even when you look at some of the items that this Jinx should be building up, the Kraken Slayer did receive some kind of, I don't know if you want to call it nerfs, but definitely some adjustments. Definitely a bit more late game than it was before. In terms of its early game pressure. Even the Runaan's Hurricane has just gotten straight up a nerf and just gone from on-hit damage from 30 to 15. So this Jinx is still a ways away from being as relevant as possibly can be, and that's a scary prospect for TT because you don't have time. You got 3 minutes.
Yeah, you're running out of time. The timer is choking up on you, and ThunderTalk are going to have to be getting extra desperate. They need to be looking for extra plays. The teleport's in.
They're going to teleport in because they know they can get almost everybody up with this ultimate here. You can see that the Jinx trying to just put herself down, put down the damage as best possibly can. Knocked right back into the graceful arms of Doggo, who picks up a beautiful kill. And this is Ultra Prime just absolutely slaughtering TT. This isn't even look close. We came into today just before we went live and it said it might be a bit scrappy, it might be all over the place, but Ultra Prime are smashing TT right now.
They're making it look easy right now, which, hey, TT, they had some closer series, maybe specifically up against top esports, but here and now, Ultra Prime are just running away with this gold lead. They are winning every single fight. Nothing looks like a bad angle for them, as Ning and Doggo are continuing to put down their just absolute fortitude all over this map. You saw right there, Doggo was hitting that 1v1 on a 1XN, and it came down to Harry with the 3-pointer to put him in position. Again, it starts off with Sword Art with the hook and this ultimate landing onto so many members of ThunderTalk.
And again, just really smart gameplay coming out from Sword Art. He could have thrown his ultimate there onto the Azir, but instead he said, no, I'll throw it onto the Galio, a low priority target, because he's behind everybody else. It's going to knock them up. It's going to affect so many more people in this team fight. 100% kill participation for Sword Art, and I'm right with you, Hulk. Like, this guy has been insane on this particular pick, and if he's not the MVP, I swear to God, nothing is justified in this world if he's not.
Yeah, it'll feel like a true-on travesty. That'll be the only win that ThunderTalk get in this game, is they somehow were able to manipulate the vote for Sword Art not getting the MVP. However, now here as they look to try to close out this game, a minute and a half before this Dragon. ThunderTalk, not a lot of options available for themselves, as Ultra Prime, they can continue to push out of the map, continue to take away jungle camps, and just, I was going to say slowly choke ThunderTalk out of the game, but it's feeling like a very rapid tap out coming out from them.
22 minutes right now, and you can see we're maybe looking for another fight. Ooh, doesn't even need the Hex.
Got the blast cone.
Here we go. We're going to go for a fight now. They're going to jump in with the Galio, try and see if they can take out Doggo, and they will. There's two kills straight off the bat. Forge looking to try and jump onto the Jinx, but misses the Shuriken flip. Still goes in on the perfect execution. One more auto. He just doesn't use it. Not quite sure why Forge holds on to that auto there, but 3 kills back to TT. It's still a little bit early. I don't know if they're going to be able to try and defend this Dragon, but you can see TT now happy with that. They should be able to get this one and wait another 5 minutes for that soul.
Still, that's gold in their back pocket. It does buy them a little bit of time, like you were saying. It doesn't quite get them out of dodge, but if you're TT, you're taking everything you can get at this point. You need every little bit of advantage, any kind of free kills you can grab. Ultra Prime giving out a couple of free ones there, and those were some shutdowns as well, so looking forward to what we can see from them. They haven't spent their gold from the side of ThunderTalk, so they still are on a little bit of parity with where Ultra Prime was before that fight.
Yeah, well, Dragon goes over here for the side of TT. They stop the soul, and again, just really good play from TT to try and keep them in this game straight up. They needed something like that to make sure that they just don't fall apart. It keeps them in this alive, and again, gives them time towards this Jinx. Have a look at this one here, because again, it's just really well played from Day1, who gets himself right on top of Doggo, who just hasn't got a chance.
Yeah, and this was part of that follow-up engage that we've been, hopefully we were thinking we were going to see for most of the game, and it's that engage from Vi, goes in with the Vault Breaker and is able to stop that Aphelios, and it is one last auto attack. It reminds me of Hung versus Ultra Prime, where he went for that dive and it was just one last auto attack on the Viego. He just cancels, like, no!
Yeah, just even if Forge is dead there regardless, I feel like he should just, you know, I suppose it's little habits that die hard. You want to try and keep the invisibility going as long as possible, but the Untigered ability, but fortunately that Baron power play leads to about a minus 1100 gold for Ultra Prime, which is a bit unfortunate, and it leads them to losing a Dragon as well. But look, 24 minutes in, they are still 5,000 gold up. They are still the ones in the ascendancy, and you can see how serious they're taking this next fight. GA picked up here for Doggo, stopwatch for Forge and for Ning. They know that they can win these fights if they can just keep Doggo alive, and that's GA along those stopwatches delays the kind of all-in you get from TT.
And we'll see what ThunderTalk can do. They are, I think, slowing down the game a lot. Ultra Prime are struggling to try to get onto the inhibitor line. I think a lot of this comes from the fact that the minion waves are not arriving all at the same time to try to split up ThunderTalk. And Yukao is starting to pick up items. We're talking about that CS advantage. He's almost level 16 here, and with that, alongside his passive with the Azir turret, they can grab at least a few minutes here. Sword Art.
They're going in on Hoya. They don't care right now. Sword Art just finds himself an opportunity.
Wait a minute.
Ning, though, is so low, uses a stopwatch to stop the Zap from going in. They're going to try and keep him alive as best they possibly can. The Galio ultimate to try and jump on the Doggo, who does get caught out. He shall pay for the sins of his jungler. And it ends up being a one-for-one trade, but a big thing there is that Ultra Prime just lost 2 of those stopwatch, or a stopwatch and a GA that we just talked about.
Sheen, do you think it's going to happen? You think we're going to get this?
It's the LPL, man. I don't know how to tell you this. It ain't over till it's over, like.
For sure. I mean, yeah, until that Nexus goes boom, there's literally anything that can be possible,
Harry's
but
dead.
Harry's staring way too long under this turret. Just have the flash available for him. Yeah, you should be able to grab this.
Yeah, I don't know if he...
Oh.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if they want to fully commit to it, because they would like to go back and spend a bit of that gold, but... I mean, it's getting a bit risky right now for the side of Ultra Prime. Doggo, who could do no wrong, kind of getting caught out quite a few times right now. And this is a great opportunistic moment here to try and take out Hoya, because they recognize he's actually just half health from Doggo, just poking at him.
Yeah, we thought, hey, as soon as you got Hoya, this should have just been the turret. But the Aphelios ult does go wide, and Ning, he has a lot of HP and not a ton of resistances, so 1xN, unhampered, literally no one auto-attacking at this point, while Beishuan knocking the Aphelios into the Galio ult. And not only did he grab this kill, but they also had the objective bounty on the turret, so those pity prizes are coming on through. TT are shoring up some of that gold lead, and now setting up for this Baron here. Ultra Prime do have advantage. They are first to the river, but they can push through this, and they are missing specifically that summoner spell onto Ning.
Yeah, no flash on Ning. Might not be the biggest thing in the world, but a full plate of summoners available to the side of TT. Minute 20 till the next Dragon's Ball, still on soul point. This is the thing, though. Yes, you got yourself to an early soul here for Ultra Prime. You start stacking up some Infernal Drakes here on the side of TT. You might not even care that much about the soul because the stats alone are just insane of how quickly they can stack up. So we'll see if Ultra Prime want to go for a Baytron. Not really near this right now, and it's not an exceptionally fast Baron, but they're going to go for it right here. And again, no one's really moving forward on top of this. Finally, the ultimate for the Jinx comes out. They know that it's on. And TP going to come out here from UCal as he tries to defend this one here. Do Ultra Prime look for the turn? They got Forge on a little bit of a flank as he looks to try and catch out 1XN. A cleanse and a flash available for 1XN. Bot lane turret does go down. Doggo back onto the Baron to try and just bait out TT and bring them back into this fight.
Every second that Ultra Prime can keep TT here is a win for them. They're pushing in onto this bot side. They already got the teleport out, but they need to be very careful. They just now have gotten vision of Baytron, and it looks like they're going to try and make this engage.
Yeah, kind of. They're looking forward. Forge just getting himself on the backside. They're going to try to use that paranoia, the nighttime, to try and make it work. Hoya flashes away. He's going to be the one who gets taken most of the damage right now. Shuriken Flip lands onto Yao, but nobody's gone in. There's a hook. It does land on the UCal. That could be huge. Zordar is going to be the first one to fall, you would imagine, as 1XN gets jumped on the backside.
Forward.
Never mind, it's not 1XN, it's Hoya. And 1XN is untouched right now. Flashing forward as the Jinx is Doggo in a 1v3, trying to see if he can do a Velios things, but he just can't finish them off. UCal taking out everybody else, and now Forge left all on his lonesome. 3 kills for TT and Ultra Prime. They had everything, Ulk. It was all going so well, but now the late game has arrived.
The kingdom is crumbling around Ultra Prime right now as their AD carry has finally picked it up. 1XN, that flank from Forge was looking good, but he didn't actually apply any pressure. He went to go in, and 1XN, he says, the only way out is in. I have to go forward. I have to flash forward, Gale Force into the opponent. Otherwise, there is going to be no option for me to live. We can check that out in this replay. A lot of ultimates going wide. Ning not able to get right into the backline. And while we were waiting for Forge to really do anything, everyone at home, take a look at what XN does around this entrance from mid lane. Forge tries to go in, and he just walks straight into Harry and Doggo.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea from Ultra Prime. You can see what they're trying to do, but
yeah,
when your only real engage is kind of either Sword Art landing a God Hook or Ning going in on this, that's kind of what you're left with in terms of the options available to you. Now, we're coming into this fight, though. This time around, very few flashes available across the board. Actually, pretty much everyone except for Baytron and Sword Art waiting on those one. Actually, Forge has his one as well. As we see now, the Dragon getting taken very, very low.
Oh, we're just doing this.
50-50. We're going to flip it. Do they want to try and make this one work? They're going to turn him off. Finally, they get the soul done. But is it going to be enough to try and take this fight? Doggo gets jumped on and gets taken out. 1XN is now going crazy on these fights as he's left completely unsupervised. UCal trades back in the mid lane against Forge, but it's a 4-for-1 trade. I mean, this could be the game. They're looking for the mid lane.
Yeah, they had a mid-wave here, and they have another one coming in. Ultra Prime, you got the Dragon Soul, but it's just not going to matter. TT, they said, that's a cool early game lead. Well, guess what? We're playing for late game. We're playing for scaling here. We've got our Jinx. She got excited. They popped off. Thunderdog are going to take game 1 here.
That's it. That's all that she wrote. And, I mean, what a wait for this to turn around. Ultra Prime held everything in their hand. For the first 15-20 minutes of this game, it was perfect. But TT, they held their own. They knew they could come back if they could just wait for those late game team fights. And once they got there, the throws from Ultra Prime were just immaculate, and TT were graciously catching all those balls.
It was that inhibitor defense line that we saw from Thunder Talk where 1XN gets the kill. They move into the bot side. They get